I wasn't planning to talk about this, honestly. It's one of those stories that feels too small to matter and too strange to explain without sounding made up. But lately, I've been thinking about how something as insignificant as a $5 bill can quietly rearrange your entire life. It started on a Wednesday. Not a particularly good one, either. I just lost my job at a delivery company the week before. Budget restructuring was the polite term they used, and my rent was 2 weeks overdue. I was sitting at a half-empty diner with a cup of coffee I couldn't afford, staring at the wall like it might give me instructions on what to do next. Across from me, an old man was trying to fold a newspaper with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. His coffee sat untouched, cream swirling in lazy spirals. I remember noticing his coat first, faded brown with a missing button, and then the small white envelope tucked into his front pocket. He looked like someone waiting for something that wasn't coming. The waitress brought my check. $4.87. I had $6 left in my wallet, literally all I had, and something in me refused to hand it over. It wasn't pride. It was panic disguised as control. I told her I'd left my card at home and promised to come back later. She looked like she'd heard that excuse 1,000 times, but just sighed and said, "Pay me next time, kid." As I got up to leave, the old man called out. "You dropped this," he said, holding out a folded $5 bill. I checked my pockets, nothing missing. "That's not mine," I told him. He smiled, the kind of smile that's both kind and sad. Maybe it's supposed to be. I didn't want charity, but something about the way he said it, gentle, certain, made me take it. I mumbled a thank you and walked out, stuffing the bill into my jacket. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The envelope in his pocket. The tremor in his hand. The $5 that somehow felt heavier than it should have. I didn't even want to spend it, not because I didn't need it, but because it didn't feel like money anymore. It felt like a question I wasn't supposed to answer yet. 2 days later, I was at the gas station, scrounging for change. A woman ahead of me was arguing quietly with the cashier. Her card wasn't going through, and she was holding a crying toddler in one arm and a gallon of milk in the other. The total on the screen read $4.92. Before I could think, I pulled out the $5 and handed it over. "Here," I said, "it's covered." She stared at me like I'd handed her gold. "Are you sure?" I nodded, and she took it slowly, whispering a thank you before rushing out. I walked back home with empty pockets, but this weird warmth in my chest, like something had been set right, even if it wasn't my own life. That night, under the streetlight near my apartment, I found a folded envelope wedged in my mailbox slot. No name, no return address. Just the number 5 written on the front in looping cursive. Inside was a note that said, "Kindness travels. So does truth. Keep both moving." And tucked behind it another $5 bill. At first, I laughed. Some random person must have seen what happened at the gas station, right? Maybe the cashier, maybe someone filming for TikTok or whatever. But no one had my name or address. The only people who knew where I lived were my landlord and my brother, and I hadn't spoken to either in months. I tried to ignore it, but curiosity is a stubborn thing. I went back to the diner the next morning, hoping to see the old man again. The same waitress was there. When I asked if he'd been around, she frowned. "You mean Henry?" she said. "He hasn't been here in weeks." "Weeks?" I told her I'd just seen him a few days ago. She looked genuinely confused. "Sweetheart, Henry passed away last month. Heart attack. His daughter came in to tell us. He used to sit right there every morning with his newspaper." I froze. "Are you sure?" She nodded slowly. "We even kept his booth for a few days. But eventually," she gestured at the full table. "Life moves on." I thanked her and left, trying not to feel insane. Maybe it wasn't the same guy. Maybe it was some other old man with shaky hands and a brown coat. But my gut wouldn't let it go. That evening, as I was scrolling through my phone, I noticed a post on the community Facebook page. Found. Envelopes with numbers on them around Main Street. If they're yours, please message me. Might be part of some kind of art project? There was a photo attached, an envelope identical to mine, with a handwritten number 7 on it. The comments were filled with speculation. Probably marketing for a local show. ARG maybe? Creepy as hell, TBH. I wanted to write something but stopped myself. The message in mine. Kindness travels. So does truth. Didn't feel like marketing. It felt personal. I went to sleep that night with my door double-locked and the envelope tucked under my pillow like a charm. A week passed. I got a part-time job unloading shelves at a hardware store. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept the lights on. I tried to forget about the envelopes, about Henry, about the eerie coincidence of it all. But it wouldn't let me go. One evening, as I was leaving work, I saw a homeless man sitting outside the store. Thin, quiet, with a cardboard sign that said, "Anything helps. Even a story." I stopped. I don't know why, maybe it was the phrasing. Even a story? I had no cash, but something made me reach into my pocket. I found the same $5 from the envelope, folded neatly. I hesitated, then handed it to him. He smiled, not surprised, not even grateful, more like he'd been expecting it. "You're passing it on," he said softly. "Do you know what this is?" I asked. He just looked at me with these bright, tired eyes and said, "You'll find out. Just don't stop when it starts to hurt." Before I could ask what that meant, he stood up and walked away, no bag, no bedroll, nothing. He turned the corner, and when I followed seconds later, he was gone. That night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. A single message. "Keep going." No name. No context. No response when I called back. I sat there staring at the screen. My reflection ghosted in the glass, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel alone. Confused, yes. Scared, absolutely. But not alone. The next morning, there was another envelope taped to my door. This time, it had the number 9 on it. Inside, another $5 and a note. "The world remembers kindness longer than people do." That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've found 5 more envelopes. In bus seats, in my locker at work, once inside a book I borrowed from the library. Each one with a single $5 bill and a handwritten line that somehow always fits what's happening in my life at that moment. I've used every one of them to help someone else. Groceries for a mom, gas money for a stranded driver, a sandwich for a kid outside the subway. Every time, something good follows. A job offer. A call from an old friend. A quiet moment that feels guided. I don't know if Henry started this, or if I'm just caught in something bigger, some invisible chain of small mercies. But I've stopped trying to figure it out. Because somewhere between losing everything and finding these envelopes, I realized something. Sometimes the world gives back in $5 increments, just enough to keep you moving forward. And last night, for the first time, I left my own envelope. Number 15. Inside, a $5 bill and a note that said, "If you're reading this, it's your turn."